Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mataji, thank you. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol to all the devotees, Pawan Prabhuji, Vishwanath Prabhu, Ramchandra Prabhu for chanting today. Let's continue with our Mangalacharan prayers and reading. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminate Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay, anybody would like to sing today? Prayer for this week? Anybody want to try? No? Okay. You want to try, Aarti Mataji?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol. Yes, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Ei paro karuna koro Vaishnava Gosani Patita pavana toma vin kaho nai जहारे निकटे खिले पाप दूर जाए इमोना धोयला प्रभु कीप कोठ पाए गंगार परश होइले पश्चाते पवन दर्शन पवित्र करो এই তোমার গুণ হরি স্থানে অপরাধে তারে হরি নাম তোম স্থানে অপরাধে নহি পরিত্রাণ তোমার হৃদয়ে সদা গোবিন্দ विश्राम गोविंद को ही ना मोर वैष्णव प्राण प्रति जन्म कोरी आशा चरणेर धूली नरोत्तम कोरो दोया आप नर भोली এই বড় করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসানি পতিত পাবন তোমা বিন কেহ নাই হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hari Bol. Very beautiful. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Shri Vaishnav Vidyapati Pratna ki jai. Shri Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol. This one we can say as Gosai. This is A and Na ka sound साथ में आता है. So Gosai. This is so न अलग से नहीं बोलते हैं, but yeah, Gosai.
Gosai, right?
Gosai, yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, translation. Anybody would like to read? Or you can read, Aarti Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. O Vishnu Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Where does anyone find such a merciful personality by whose mere audience all sins go far away? After bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times, one becomes purified. But just by the sight of you, the fallen souls are purified. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who has committed an offense to Lord Hari. But if one commits an offense to you, there is no means of deliverance. Your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda. Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. I desire the dust of your holy feet in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottama yours and be kind upon him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so let's continue with Prabhupada Lilamrit. As Prabhupada's, you see how much respect Vaishnava Gosai is given by our acharyas in this prayer and in general. So like that, Prabhupada also was given a lot of respect yesterday as Prabhupada was going from Kumbh Mela from Allahabad back to Calcutta, and that Mr. Gupta, who's the officer in the Central Railways, he had reserved special compartment for Prabhupada and his disciples. So, and the government servants had come to take his luggage and put it inside. So Prabhupada was very, very happy yesterday, right? He was very pleased. He was saying like it's like a father taking care of a son. So like that, he was very happy with Mr. Gupta. So like that, we should offer respect in India. Prabhupada is saying in India is a culture of Vedic civilization. But now, because of animalistic civilization, people are forgetting because Krishna, Lord, was born there and appeared there and gave his instructions. So India is a land of Vedic knowledge, yet people are forgetting everything because they are getting absorbed in materialistic civilization, which is taking them even further down than animals. Animals, at least, they will eat meat, they will have illicit sex and all of that. But people, they are having even they're going even beyond that because we are doing gambling, intoxication, which even animals don't do, right? So in that sense, human civilization is going even below animalistic civilization. But yeah, Prabhupada was happy with Mr. Gupta, and also he went to Calcutta to recover, and then he went to Bhubaneswar yesterday we saw. And Prabhupada still, he was not happy with the Kumbh Mela's Pandal program, and he wrote a letter to all the temples that no matter what happens, there should be adequate stock of prasadam. Everybody should be fed prasadam nicely, right? So that was very, very important instruction Prabhupada gave, that everybody should be fed prasadam. They should chant Hare Krishna, and then they will be happy, right? So it should not just be feeding prasadam. Well, feeding prasadam also is good because prasadam is not different from Krishna. Yes, so that is good. It will benefit them. But if they chant Hare Krishna, then the combination, the duo, the combo combination is best. So chant Hare Krishna, feed prasadam, and then make everybody happy. And like that, so our temples, our centers, Prabhupada is giving instruction to all of us that we should also not tell anybody, oh, prasadam is finished, oh, it is not cooked. He said rigidly that should be followed because prasadam department is department of Srimati Radharani, of Lakshmi ji, and Krishna is the most richest of the rich, right? So how can we say, prasadam is finished? So like that, he's giving instructions. That's why in Cincinnati we have very good service by all our Matajis and group of devotees who go every Saturday, cook feast at the center, and then we offer nice prasadam to everybody. That's why we call it, as that group that all the Matajis are, is called Radharani Ki Rasoi. So like that. So it's Radharani Ki Rasoi. So it should never be empty. Like Draupadi's Akshay Patra, right? And Krishna ate one grain of rice. Everybody was satisfied, and that patra will never be empty, until the Pandavas had not eaten. So like that, Prabhupada is giving instruction that our prasadam distribution should go on, without being finished. And yes, and in Orissa, of course, in Bhubaneswar, Prabhupada is taking association and giving association to his disciples, wonderful Orient disciple, His Holiness Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj, who uh, got a donated piece of land and he's starting a center there. So Prabhupada is very happy very, very primitive arrangements, but Prabhupada is very happy with the simple living and high thinking. Today, unfortunately, people are simply living and hardly thinking, right? So that is the state of affairs today. The Prabhupada taught us how to live simply and think highly, right? So, and like that, there's this art of living is also said. Some people are saying like people are teaching art of living, but ISKCON also teaches art of leaving, right? So when we leave our body, we should know how to leave our body, and that is the whole lifetime of preparation. So when we do that, then we are able to leave our body in the right state of consciousness, remembering the Lord, remembering the Lord's devotees, and then we can leave our body nicely. So that is also an art. So it's not just art of living, but it's also art of leaving. Okay, so let's continue. Chapter 51, chant and fight, Prabhupada is saying. So chant Hare Krishna and fight. Anyone with a bodily conception of the self, Prabhupada said, anyone thinking of his identity in relation to family, country, or race was no better than a cow or an ass, according to Vedic Shastra. He repeatedly warned that Indians should be careful of sinking to the position of having to ask what is God. Unfortunately, when he called for questions after his lecture, it was the same thing. I want to know the meaning of word Krishna, a man asked. You do not know what is the meaning of Krishna? Prabhupada retorted. You do not know? The man said something in Oriya and then said in English the etymological meaning. Krishna, said Prabhupada, means all attractive. Karshati. Yes, Krishna means the attractive, all attractive. And besides that, you do not know Krishna? That is the difficulty, that our people have become so degraded that they are asking, what is God? What is Krishna? Someone has studied the seventh canto of Ramayana, but now he is asking, whose father is Sita? So this is the position. We are born in the country where Krishna spoke everything, and now we are asking, what is the meaning of Krishna? What is God? This is the position. Very degraded position. While Prabhupada rode in his car to the park for his morning walk, he saw billboards and banners announcing that Sanjay Gandhi was coming to town. Sanjay Gandhi's particular political platform was that everyone should become literate. Looking out the window at the poor, barren land, Prabhupada said, what is the benefit of literacy when the people are poor and starving? He said that the local people were coming to the ISKCON evening program just to get a little khichdi, not because it was prasadam, but because they were hungry. So if after many years of education they learned to read but still earned little money and had the same employment, then what was the benefit? Life was not for such education. Prabhupada lamented that so much land was lying uncultivated. Seeing several men jogging, Prabhupada commented that most people were hungry and poor, while a few were living in big houses, overeating and running to lose fat. So he will educate the people, Srila Prabhupada said, and after some time they will join the Naxalite movement and kill the rich man. No, everyone should be engaged in working the land. Prabhupada said his ISKCON men should also work because unless they were properly engaged, they would gossip and fall victim to sex desire. Since arriving in Bhubaneswar, Srila Prabhupada had several times talked about going to Jagannath Puri, about an hour away. Since he had hopes of one day building a big center in Puri, he wanted to see some plots of land for sale. He hadn't been to Puri, he said, since 1958. Since his Western disciples were not allowed to enter the Jagannath temple, Prabhupada said he would not enter either, but he would go to Puri to see what land was available. Early one morning, Prabhupada set out in his car for Puri on the Bay of Bengal. He looked at several properties there, but either their locations were poor or the buildings were deteriorated or both. Prabhupada walked along the beach with his men, and the surf was pounding. I was jumping here, he laughed. In the 1920 or 21, I came here. At that time, I was married. I was married in 1918. I came after appearing for my BA examination, and because I was jubilant, I was jumping. When the waves came, I was jumping. Now it is 57 years after. They say we do not change bodies, but where is that body? Now I'm walking with stick. Then I was jumping. I'm still here, I remember, but the body has changed. What is the difficulty to understand? I'm the same. Otherwise, how am I remembering all these things? But that body is now lost. Tatha dehantara praptihi. Why this simple philosophy these rascals cannot understand? Srila Prabhupada stayed a day at the beachside tourist bungalow, and one of his godbrothers, Shyam Sundara Brahmachari from the local Purushottama Gaudiya Mutt visited. After he left, Sri Seva Sivarath, a member of the Pujari committee of the Jagannath temple, also came to visit. Prabhupada spoke to him about the possibility of ISKCON devotees entering the Jagannath temple. To bar the Western Vaishnavas from entering the temple was prejudiced and ignorant. Since the members of the Krishna consciousness movement were fully engaged in spiritual life, they should not be considered unfit simply because of their birth status or race. Seva Sivarath was friendly and agreed with Srila Prabhupada. He promised he would do what he could do to help. He also told Prabhupada about a book he had just published and invited him to attend a small Pandal meeting the next evening at which the book would be inaugurated. Prabhupada agreed. Later, Prabhupada was sitting on the veranda outside his room at the tourist bungalow. As he sat watching Shantilal preparing lunch in the back of Gargamuni's van, he could smell the aromatic spices cooking in the ghee. He called to Gargamuni Swami and asked that a plate of Shantilal's cooking be brought to him. Soon Prabhupada was enjoying a meal of rice, dal, puri, spicy sabjis and chutney. He said that Shantilal cooked wonderfully and that all devotees in ISKCON should learn this art. If the meat eaters could take such prasadam, he said, they would give up their sinful habit. As Prabhupada sat in his hotel room that evening with a few disciples at his feet, he reminisced about how he had come to America in 1965 and had suffered 2 heart attacks at sea. That they say that anyone who gets a third heart attack, said Prabhupada, they must expire. I had 2 attacks on the ship and then in New York a third one, paralyzed. Left side was paralyzed. I do not know how I was saved. And one girl, that captain's wife, she studied astrology. She said, Swami, if you can survive your 70th year, then you will live for 100 years. Srila Prabhupada and his disciples laughed. So, Prabhupada continued, somehow or other I have survived my 70th year. I do not know whether they say I will live for 100 years, but 70th year was severe. 3 heart attacks and paralysis, and I was without any family. At that time, none of you were there. None of you were with me. I was alone. I wasn't dependent on anyone. But on the ship, I saw that Krishna was going to save me. I was going for his mission. Devotees were regularly bringing up the topics of brainwashing and deprogramming. That evening, one of the devotees mentioned that sometimes the opposition was taking the testimony of an ex-disciple of Prabhupada's who would speak against the movement. Because he is a rascal, Prabhupada explained. Therefore, he is excommunicated. My Guru Maharaj kicked him out. So what is the value of his testimony? That is natural, that someone will go out and speak against us. These things will happen in preaching. You cannot expect very smooth path. The devotees agreed, and someone added that one of Jesus' closest disciples had betrayed him. Srila Prabhupada compared the present trouble to the troubles he had encountered when he first came to America. He reminisced further about his near-fatal illness in 1967 and his return to India, where he had recuperated. But even after returning to America, he commented he had not been able to sleep at night because of a sound in his ear. As long as the body will be there, Prabhupada said, there will be so many troubles. Krishna has advised that they will come and go. Don't care for it. Agam payano nityas tam statikshava bharata. So, bodily troubles, mental troubles, and enemies, so many impediments will come. What can be done? We have to tolerate. That is the material world. We cannot expect smooth, very happy. That is not possible. Krishna was advising that to Arjuna. What to speak of us? Krishna never says, I have made some magic. You will have nothing to suffer. He never gave Arjuna any tablet. So we have to follow that. The modern gurus say, I will give you some magic ash. There will be no trouble. But Krishna, what did he say? He said, no, tolerate. He did not say, you are ass. I will give you some ash. Neither did Arjuna ask, why do you ask me to fight? Give me some ash. I will throw it. He was not such a fool that he asked some magic from Krishna to kill his enemies. Actually, he fought. This is Bhagavad Gita. So face things as they are and depend on Krishna. That is our duty. Don't expect any ash, miracle, magic. The next morning, from the porch, Srila Prabhupada was watching the devotees swimming in the Bay of Bengal. Calling Harishwari over, he said he would like to bathe in the ocean and asked him what he thought about it. Harishwari and other devotees present all thought it was a good idea. Sea water was supposed to be very good for health, they said. Prabhupada said he would try it and after taking his morning massage, walked down to the seashore wearing his gamcha and carrying a towel. The ocean shore was about 100 yards from the hotel, and by the time Prabhupada reached the water, all the devotees were running after him in their gamchas. Some of the devotees were already in the ocean, and when Prabhupada reached the water's edge, they all gathered around him. As the waves glided in and swirled around Prabhupada's feet, Harishwari scooped palmfuls of water and began to bathe Prabhupada's body, his arms, chest, and head, washing away the mustard seed oil he had applied during the massage. Soon other devotees began reverently splashing handfuls of water onto Prabhupada's body, standing almost up to his knees in water, the bright sunshine illuminating his golden-hued body. Prabhupada laughed as the devotees joined him. The devotees realized that this pastime was just like an abhishek or bathing of the deity, and when Guru Kripa Swami began to sing the prayers for bathing the deity, Chinta Mani Prakarasad Mashukalpa Vriksha, the other devotees joined in, singing and taking part in the abhishek by the sea. Srila Prabhupada enjoyed it, sometimes putting his head forward to indicate that he wanted water poured on his head, then closing his eyes as the devotees poured the water. When Prabhupada lost his balance for a moment, Harishwari grabbed him. Prabhupada's feet had been sinking into the sand, and when he held one foot out, it was muddy. As he wriggled his toes, the devotee poured water on the foot, washing it clean. Prabhupada then bent over, put ocean water in his mouth, and spat it out. Only Guru Kripa Swami was quick enough to catch some of the water and drink it. As Prabhupada allowed the devotees to participate in bathing and gently massaging him, the devotees were carried away by ecstatic feelings. After about 10 minutes, Prabhupada came out of the water, changed his clothes, and walked back to the hotel, where two devotees escorted him to a comfortable chair, sat him down, and carried him up to his room for his afternoon rest. In the afternoon, Seva Sivarat came again to see Prabhupada, accompanied this time by another Puri Brahmana. They gave Prabhupada some Jagannath Prasadam and sang the Jagannath Ashtakam. In silent appreciation, Prabhupada listened as the Brahmanas sang the famous prayers, with each verse ending, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. O Lord of the universe, kindly be visible unto me. When the two Brahmanas finished singing, Prabhupada said, so, these European and American Vaishnavas, they are hankering after Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. Now it is through your intervention that they may be able to see Jagannath Swami. They are hankering like that. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami. Seva Sivarat again expressed his sympathy about the devotees not entering Jagannath's temple. He also told Prabhupada more about the book he had published, a compilation of select verses from Jagannath Das' translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam into Oriya. Seva Siva had also written some commentary, and his book was to be inaugurated at a function that evening. Prabhupada again promised to attend and address Puri's Brahmanas and religionists. That evening, Srila Prabhupada was guest of honor at the outdoor pandal on the beach, and his disciples accompanied him to the stage with a rousing kirtan. Prabhupada took his seat. After the kirtan ended, one of the managers of the Jagannath temple came forward and garlanded Srila Prabhupada. Seva Siva then announced, we thank Shri Abhay Charanarvind, the A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has been kind enough to grace this occasion, wherein we have assembled this evening to pay our respectful homage to His Holiness Jagannath Das Goswami, who was a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya. Suddenly, about 5 Brahmanas sitting on a platform rose and walked off the stage to join a kirtan party in front of an altar in a nearby field. It seemed strange to the devotees that these men had to leave just when Srila Prabhupada was going to speak. I thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada began, but then the sound system failed. Srila Prabhupada paused while one of his own disciples, an electrician, corrected the problem. Srila Prabhupada resumed speaking, his voice amplified above the distraction of the nearby kirtanas. So, in our humble way, Prabhupada was saying, we are trying to introduce Jagannath Swami's culture. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. Seva Siva had invited Prabhupada explicitly to speak about his new book, and Prabhupada had already mentioned privately to his disciples that these people were inviting him to serve their own purpose. But now Prabhupada took the occasion to speak about Lord Jagannath rather than about the Orion Jagannath Das. He had a special message in mind. You will be very much pleased to know, he continued, that in the year 1967, I introduced Rath Yatra in San Francisco, and it has been going on continually for the last 9 or 10 years. And the government, they have fixed up a holiday for Rath Yatra. We have the 20th of July as a government fixed up holiday for Rath Yatra, and people take part in the Rath Yatra. Not only my devotees, but even outsiders. 10 to 12,000 people attend, and we distribute prasadam to all of them. They feel very much obliged, and the newspaper writes that the people in general never felt such ecstasy as they are feeling in the Rath Yatra festival. The police say that the crowds in the Western countries, as soon as there is a big crowd, they create disturbance. But the police was surprised that this crowd is not a window-breaking crowd. Next, we introduced Rath Yatra in London. And in London, Trafalgar Square, it is the most famous square within the city. There is a big column called Nelson's Column. Our Rath was so high that the Guardian newspaper criticized this Rath Yatra as a rival to Nelson's Column. Next, we introduced Rath Yatra in Philadelphia. And last year, we introduced Rath Yatra in New York. And we also have Rath Yatra in Melbourne and Sydney and in Paris. So, in the Western countries, Rath Yatra is being introduced one after another. And Jagannath Swami is attracting the attention of the Western people. Suddenly, some of the men on the stage began talking loudly among themselves in Oriya. Prabhupada stopped, turned and said, "What is that?" The talking subsided, and he continued, "So people will come in your Jagannath Puri now from all parts of the world. That is beneficial from various points of view. From the points of view of the tourist program, the government will benefit. When people are attracted to see Jagannath Puri, Jagannath Swami, that is good. But unfortunately, you do not allow these foreigners to enter the temple. How it can be adjusted? This stumbling block should be dissolved. That you want Jagannath Swami to be compact within your home and you do not expand the mercy of Jagannath. He is Jagannath. He is not only just Purinath or Oriyanath. He is Jagannath. Krishna declares in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. That is the definition of Jagannath. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So why you should deny the inhabitants of Sarva Loka the darshan of Jagannath? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never approved such things. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Prithvi te ache yata nagaradi gram sarvatra prachar hoibe moranam. When the thing is being done and when they are eager to come here, why you should restrain? What is the cause? This is not very good. Jagannath is Lord of the universe. Krishna is the proprietor and controller of everything. Srila Prabhupada continued to argue that foreigners who had taken to Vaishnavism should be allowed to enter the temple of Lord Jagannath. Offenses to the Vaishnavas, he said, were condemned by Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, Prabhupada declared he had come to Puri specifically to request the leaders to remove this offensive restriction and be friendly to the foreign devotees. He invited Puri's leaders to come and see the Jagannath and Radhakrishna temples all over the world and see how the foreigners had actually become pure Vaishnavas, strictly avoiding sinful life, no illicit sex, no meat eating, no fish eating, no egg eating, no intoxication, no gambling, said Prabhupada. Why you should not receive them as Vaishnava and give them proper reception? That is my request. I hope there are many learned scholars and devotees present here. They should endeavor to remove this restriction of short-sightedness and let us combinedly work with Jagannath to preach the bhakti cult for the benefit of the whole world. As Prabhupada finished his lecture, Harishari leaned forward and asked Prabhupada if he wanted to answer questions. But Sevasiva came quickly to Prabhupada's side and said, "No, don't put their questions." Sevasiva picked up the small paperback volume which was supposed to have been the topic of the evening's presentation, the Bhagavad of Jagannath, said Sevasiva, and he handed it to Srila Prabhupada, requesting him to now speak, as expected, about the merit of the book and its inauguration. Srila Prabhupada looked indifferently at the small book in his hand. Speaking over the microphone, he said, "So what shall I do? Of course, I do not know the Oriya language, but it is said that it is Bhagavad of Jagannath, so it is inaugurated today." Prabhupada placed the book down and stood up to leave. The audience applauded. Okay, so let's pause here with applause for Srila Prabhupada. He comes and he is always preaching the message of the Lord wherever he goes, doesn't care, why he uses every situation, anukulena krishnanu, shirana bhakti ruttama, like he was saying. So every situation, he makes it favorable for preaching Krishna consciousness. So like he's saying, he wanted to talk about, was invited to talk about this book, but he talked about Jagannath Rath Yatra all over the world and how Jagannath is the Lord of universe. So why this discrimination against people of this universe? Not just people, he's the Lord of the universe. So that means he's Lord of all living entities. So everybody should have equal rights to take darshan of Lord Jagannath. Like that. So yeah, Sadhu is very, very merciful, compassionate, very tolerant at the offenses that are done against him. But the Lord doesn't take those offenses. Right? The Sadhu may be very merciful and he may even forgive, but Krishna will never forgive such a sinner who makes offenses against a Vaishnava. So like that, being tolerant like a tree, as we say, Tarorapi Sahishnana. A sadhu is like a tree, Sadhu is so deep in his sadhana, like a tree. The tea of the tree represents like that, right? You go deep in their sadhana, but then also go wide in distributing the fruits of the tree. So, like the Ramarendra Prabhu was telling yesterday in our session, we were actually talking about tolerance and sacrifice, and how a tree is so tolerant and sacrifices everything, right? A tree gives its leaves, its bark, its fruits it gives shelter in rain or heat, right? But it never expects anything in return. So like that, a Vaishnava, he gives everything to everybody. Like Prabhupada, we saw, he was willing to take the sins of all the people who were touching his feet, but he was only wanting that everybody become enlightened. So even though his health is bad, he's diabetic, he's weak, his body, his organs are weak now, he's not having the strength. Still at the age of 80 years, he wants to travel He can easily sit in the comfort of Vrindavan or all his lavish temples in London or Paris or Europe or America or Australia. But no, he is willing to live in small thatched huts in Orissa, in Bhubaneswar, because that is the land of the Lord. So that is the mode of a sadhu, extremely tolerant and very merciful and kind. And the devotees are having nice pastimes in the ocean with Prabhupada. And yeah, doing like Abhishek, just as the Abhishek of the Lord, Abhishek of pure devotees is more powerful. And catching Prabhupada's water coming from Prabhupada's mouth and drinking that. So yes, wonderful. Okay, any other thoughts, reflections on today's reading?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna everyone. I was thinking how loving is Prabhupada that when his disciples were not allowed to enter the uh, uh, temple of Jagannath Puri, when he decided not to go, even though he was longing for it. We knew like from the previous chapters that Prabhupada loved Jagannath Puri, the temple, when he was young and he visited it. But now, in his old age, I'm sure he wanted to go so bad, but just to reciprocate the loving relationship with his disciples, he chose not to visit the temple. So I thought that was, a very big sacrifice from Prabhupada for his disciples. Also, we read in today's reading that, doing bhakti, sometimes we think that, okay, I'm doing so much of devotional services now rather than, I was doing it before. So I would be saved from the material distresses, but it is not like that. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that what we get out of this devotional service and bhakti is tolerance. Nothing is magical that things will change and then you will not have sufferings in your life, but definitely there is magic that you will become more tolerant and you'll be able to tolerate, and the situations might be very troublesome, but you won't feel that trouble because Krishna is there with you. So just was reflecting on those points, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, material suffering in terms of the rain of suffering will come, right? But the devotee with the knowledge, with the intelligence that is sharpened by the scriptures, by the association of sadhus, right, by the chanting of the holy names, like we said, our body, by following the regulative principles, our bodies, our mind, and our intelligence, everything is purified. So when our intelligence is purified, sharpened, problems will come. But just like when rain falls, we open umbrella, and then the rain doesn't touch us, right? So similarly, devotees get that intelligence with which, when the problems come, they have the shelter of the umbrella, like mercy of the Guru Parampara, which is protecting them, and they don't become affected by that shower of sorrow or suffering that comes their way. So they are protected in that sense. So that will always come while we are in this material world, like Prabhupada is saying. So yeah, body will get sick, body will get old, sufferings will come, but because of our purification that we get by following the instructions, regulative principles, chanting, and by reading Shastra, by association of Guru Sadhu Shastra, then we get the superior intelligence to tide over those sufferings. So yeah, that is like, yeah, and we are like galloping. Like if we have to gallop, we said, Prabhupada said we used to gallop, we have to gallop back to Godhead. So when we are galloping back to Godhead, even though we are sitting nicely on a horse, on a saddle, but we have to hold on to the reins of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Then we will not be thrown away. Otherwise, the wind of material nature will blow very strongly against us. But we have to hold on to the reins. When we hold on to the reins and we sit nicely on the saddle, holding to the Guru Sadhu Shastra, then we can gallop back to Godhead. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that thought. Anybody else would like to say anything? I'm sure we learn at least one thing that you may have liked from today's reading. Any other thoughts, comments? पवन प्रभु जी, आप कुछ बोलेंगे?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
I was just wondering, Prabhuji, since Prabhupada had requested that Western devotees should enter the Jagannath temple, is it was that granted at that time, or is still granted? Do you
As
have
far as I
any?
know, I don't think it is granted, Prabhuji. Yes, it's still they don't allow people, only allow people of Indian origin. But that's why Lord Jagannath is so merciful that he comes out and he gives darshan to
That's
everybody.
right, and that's what the Prabhuji.
No, Prabhuji, it is not allowed.
Yeah, Prabhakar Prabhu will know. Yeah, he's from Puri, so yeah, they don't allow anybody besides Indian bodies to go inside, which is contrary to what
Only Ratha Yatra, anybody can join because it is in outside.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, that's why Prabhupada has made it so merciful that Jagannath is coming out and giving darshan to everybody all over the world now. But yeah, devotees who want to go there to Jagannath Puri, they have to go during the time of Puri Rath Yatra, right? Only then they can have darshan. Hare Krishna. Okay. Anything else, Prabhakar Prabhu, you want to share?
Yeah, after 3 heart attack and paralyzed, Prabhupada, with Krishna's mercy, he gave us all the things what we need. And nowadays, how we are struggling, materialistic things. He gave the way how to go ahead and get all the Krishna mercy. That is really.
There is no fear of the death.
Yeah.
So if the Krishna is with us, we should not fear of the death, and we should not fear of that any crisis like that the like a health issue or criticism or the rival, critics or enemies. So that's the important for the life. Like it's in the materialistic world, all these 3 elements are present. So we have to overcome this, and it's really the Prabhupada enlightened our lives by this way.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji Prabhuji. Yeah, the threefold miseries are there. So like the Prabhupada is saying, when somebody gets 3 heart attacks, then they cannot survive heart attacks and paralysis. But still, we see how he's saying Krishna came to save him because he was going for Krishna's mission. So there is a nice picture, I think art and devotees have drawn of Prabhupada and Krishna lovingly placing his lotus hand on Prabhupada's forehead, while Prabhupada is in the Jaladuta, taking care of him as he was going through those heart attacks. So like that, yeah, this world, threefold miseries are there. Adidevik, Adibhautik, Adhyatmik. The 3 modes of material nature are there, right? So like that, we can compare to those heart attacks, the 3 things, the 3 bad things that we have to transcend. And with the association of the Lord, we can transcend those 3 things like Prabhupada did. Just by following his Guru Maharaj's instruction to the core of his heart. He was completely surrendered. Even after he was successful after 11 years, he never took any credit, right? Everything was in ISKCON's name. Nothing was in Prabhupada's name. And even after getting all the success, he would say, the only credit I can take is that I have just followed my Guru Maharaj's instruction, right? So that is the only credit he took. Nothing else. All the success, all the gains, and all the adulations that came his way, nothing he took for himself. So yeah, so we can learn a lot from such pure devotees of the Lord, how to be humble when success will come, but how do we maturely handle mercy and success. So that is with humility. And then with humility, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, only when we are humble, then we can chant Kirtaniya Sada Hari, only when we are humble. So our acharyas say that we should tie that 3rd verse of Shikshashtakam, Trinanad Visnurishina Taraurapi Saishuna, Amani Namanadina, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. That Radhanath Swami Maharaj also says, and he says, we should tie like a necklace around our neck, and that we should always remember that is the most important instruction. Because if we have that, then we will always remember the Lord through his holy names. And if you always remember the Lord through the holy name, then we'll always be in association of the Lord and his pure devotees. And that is what our goal of life is, that we may never forget Krishna and we may always remember Krishna. So that verse of Shikshashtakam is so important. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji, Prabhuji. Okay, thank you, dear devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrind ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hari
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.